First of all, I want to thank you for doing this, and I thank you for your service to our community. It
Welcome.
means a lot. Would you introduce yourself? Name, how old you are, how long you've been with UFD?
Okay. My name's Derek Manser. I'm a captain here at the Urbandale Fire Department. 34, I'll be 35 next month. And I have been with the Urbandale Fire Department since 2008 or 2009. They're all kind of running together at this point.
Were you a firefighter anywhere else before you started here?
Yep, I started my career actually in West Des Moines, so not too far away.
And what made you want to be a firefighter?
You know, it's probably kind of cliche. Most firefighters, they start this out because it's their childhood dream. They want to do that, and pretty common answer there. But for me, it was a childhood dream. Um, but I also, my uncle was in the fire service. He actually served as a fire chief in a volunteer department, and I always thought it was cool that he'd get a rush away and go help somebody at the drop of a dime. And watching him do that as a child and being exposed to some of the fire service stuff, getting to participate in 4th of July stuff with him and parades and all of that stuff kind of just sealed my fate. And everyone kind of laughs because there's little childhood pictures of me riding on fire trucks dressed up as a fireman, and now here I am doing, pretty much living my dream. So it's kind of cool.
Love it. What is the primary goal of UFD?
Primary goal of UFD is our customers, and protecting and serving them, making sure our community is safe, and providing a good community for people to visit and live in.
How long did it take for you to become a captain?
Let's see. So our rank structure, when I came here, the only promotable position was a lieutenant. So you went from line firefighter, paramedic, straight up to lieutenant. So that was kind of the career path that it was. And then a few years into my career, as our department grew, we opened up a driver engineer role. I stepped into that role, stayed there for, I think it was about 3 years as an engineer. Then an opportunity became available to become a lieutenant. Spent another 3 years as a lieutenant, and now I'm a captain. So I want to say from the time that I started here to the time that I was a captain would have been right around that 9-year mark, I believe.
Awesome. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that this is right. Okay. Oh yeah, we're good. I couldn't see over here. So the fire department has multiple values. It's part of your mission, right? Your values are. What is the one value that stands out to you, and why?
That's a really good question to ask. And within the first couple of years of starting here, we decided we wanted to update our patch. And I don't know if you've seen it, but on there it says mission driven and customer focused. And on a Maltese cross, there's only 4 individual crosses individual arms to that cross. We have more than 4 core values, and so we actually sat in the group and tried to decide. We wanted our core values to be on our patch, but we couldn't. You can't cut one out. So to say that one's more important than the other, to me, they're all equally important. And if you get rid of one, then what was it saying there before? So I don't really have a most important. They're all equally important to me.
I love that answer. So, do you have a family outside of the fire department?
Yep, I've got a wife and 2 little girls. So
Awesome.
They keep me busy.
And I am assuming that you would consider your firefighters your crew's family. Can you touch on that?
That's actually probably one of the most important aspects to have when you're in a leadership role here. These people, we're going to live a third of our life with them. They do become like family. We have a very familial atmosphere. We genuinely care about each other. We talk to each other on days off. We go and do things together on our days off together. So they're an extension of your family, but we eat our meals together. We check our trucks together. We clean the house together. Everything we do is a group effort. It's a team effort, but more so, it's a family effort. Which isn't present in a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs people clock out. They don't talk to their coworkers until the next morning at 8, 9 a.m. But here, that's just how we function. And leading people in that fashion is a lot more valuable to me. Obviously, there's the ugly side of being in leadership in a government or a supervisory role, but I feel that if you handle some of the smaller things before they become bigger things, it makes the atmosphere a lot better for us.
Absolutely. So when you get a fire call, what's the procedure? What do you guys, if you're sitting at the table eating, what's the procedure to get into the truck and ready to go?
So obviously we tried doing this interview before, and we heard the overhead start chirping, and it's, if we're hearing chirping at this station, somebody's going from this station, whether it be the fire truck or the ambulance or both. And so literally it's a drop everything and head out towards the bay. On this call, it was a fire call. Didn't require us to bunker out because it was a smoke detector battery that was chirping that they needed help with, and we knew that by looking at our phone or on our computer telling us what we're going to. But if we're going to a medical emergency, we have 90 seconds to be en route from the time that the overhead starts chirping. And so everyone goes out to the truck, we get in, fasten our seatbelts, look on our computer, see where we're going, see all the updates that we have. It'll tell us, pretty much anything our dispatcher has asked is going to be on our screen in front of us. We're updated real time with everything that's going on, so that we're most informed as when we get there. So the more complex calls, the more stressful or busy calls, sometimes there's a bigger lag in that because the information may not be as clear. When we're going on a fire, again, we're down to that, we need to be wheels rolling in 90 seconds. So we would leave, go out to the bay, we'd put all of our bunker gear on, get in the truck and do the same procedure. Probably some of the more difficult aspects of going to a call like that, our air packs that we wear are mounted in our seats. So that we can put those on going down the road while we're seat belted. Very important that we can do that. And then when we get to the scene, seatbelt comes off, we lean forward, the pack comes with us automatically. But going to a fire call, there's a lot of activity in the trucks. We'll be talking about routes. We'll be updating each other as to what's going on, because my engineer's job is to get us to the scene as safely as possible, and then to, once we get there, operate that truck. So I may have some directions for him as far as, okay, I want you to come in like this based off of the way other apparatus are responding. Telling him where his hydrant locations are. Telling him what part of the building I want him to go to based off of the updates. Even our roll order could dictate where that truck is going to wind up on the building itself. So a lot of communication going on in the truck, as well as there's still some final things that I will need to do to get ready to go to work. Making sure my radio has a fresh battery. We're on the right channel. Same with the flashlights. Make sure my flashlight that I'm wearing is charged and ready to go. And then one of the most important tools that I carry on me is a thermal imaging camera, and making sure that's clipped to me and ready to go. That thermal imaging camera gives me the ability to see what you can't see with your naked eye. I can see a wall that's hot. If, especially being on a ladder company, search is one of our very big tasks. And if I'm going into a smoked out, dark environment, I can actually utilize that thermal imaging camera to assist us in searching the building. You could even see a victim that's, incapacitated on that camera, and instead of us taking a while to search an entire room, we can crawl directly to that person based off of the thermal imager and hopefully get them out of the building quicker.
This is gold. Just want to make sure I am, because I will chop and put different things from different people in the videos. Would you have a problem if I post the full interview with you to my YouTube?
That's fine.
Because it's going to be a lot of really good stuff, I think.
Yeah.
One of the questions I was going to ask, and I've asked a couple of times, is what does defensive fire mean, or defensive positioning when you're talking about a fire?
So positioning, so it's not really a positioning type thing. There are ways that you're going to use the apparatus in a defensive mode opposed to an offensive mode. It's whether we're going to be inside the building working or whether we're going to be outside of the building. Like, it's not safe enough to be inside the building. A lot of times when you see people in a defensive mode operating, that's when you see the aerial with water actually coming out of the ladder. There's a big, we call it a deck gun, some people call it a deluge gun. On top of our engines, you'll see that flowing in a defensive type operation. But essentially what we've deemed is the building is not safe for us to go inside to do firefighting efforts. That could be, we know the victims are out. The value per se of the building is certainly not worth the value of a firefighter's life. So we're not going to send somebody inside of a building that there's literally nothing to save, just to put the fire out so that tomorrow morning they can show up with a bulldozer and bulldoze it down. It'd be, I don't know how you could sleep at night knowing you sent somebody in and they got, hurt or killed to save a piece of property. So we can do what we can, but we have to do that in a manner that's right for the firefighter as well.
Yeah, I love it. And then an attack is the opposite, right? That's where you go in.
So attack again is kind of a vague term in that situation.
So the term that I've heard is fire attack.
Yep, fire attack. So that would actually be a job task. So you could be in a defensive mode on fire attack. So okay. we could take our larger hand lines or even our smaller hand lines around the building and be applying water through that. It's not necessarily a mode, if you will. So because we have offensive, defensive, we have transitional attack where we may show up on scene with just 3 guys and we got fire coming out of a window. Well, what's going to be the best thing for us to do? Get water on that fire. Let's change the environment. We're either going to slow the progression of the fire down or we're going to make the environment inside of that building more tenable so that if there is a victim in there, they have a better chance. And that's called a transitional attack. So we'll be putting water from the outside until we get enough people assembled on scene to actually go inside and put the fire out. And that's what the transition. So we transition from outside to inside.
Okay. I think I kind of know where you'll go with this because I think I have a good basis of where you guys' head is at and your humility and all of that. But a lot of people call you heroes, mm-hmm. but we don't necessarily look at you, look at all first responders and immediately see another human being. We see somebody that's larger than life, somebody mm-hmm. that's a superhero. How does it make you feel when somebody calls you a hero?
There's a lot of being humble that comes with this job, and I think you and I got to talk the other day. We're ordinary people doing an extraordinary job. We're putting into places to help people or do things that most people would never imagine having to do, and for some reasons, those things just become normal to us. That's just what we're expected to do. You pull around the corner and there's fire coming out of a building. We're going to get off the truck, put water on it, and go about our day. We show up at a private residence for somebody that's not conscious and not breathing. We're going to go to work and we're going to do what we've been trained and educated on how to do. So I don't know what the right feeling is. Do I feel like a hero? No. I just feel like I'm the person that's in the place to help somebody with the right training, education, equipment, and all that stuff. So I think that you're put somewhere for a reason, and if that's to help somebody, that's what it's for.
I love it, man. Okay, lighten it up a little bit. What's the funnest call you've ever been on?
Man, that's a tricky one. I started this career when I was a 17-year-old kid actually, and I can't even imagine. I should have kept track I should have kept a journal this entire time of all the stuff that you go through in your career, because the number of calls and they all kind of migrate together, and you find fun stuff in all of them. But I think for me probably the funnest call that would come to mind would be I was just a probie, and I think that comes to mind because it was one of my first experiences, and so that first experience you'll never get back. Not that all the other calls aren't fun, because they certainly are. We've had some good laughs, we've had some great times, but I think my probably the funnest call would be my first fire. It was a apartment fire, what we call a rooming contents. So essentially one room inside this individual apartment is on fire, and this was back during when I was a paid-on-call firefighter, and there was only at that time 2 career engines, and they were kind of splitting the city in half to get the best coverage out of it. And this apartment building happened to be in my territory, in my station's territory, which was served by paid-on-call firefighters. Those 2 engines were coming. They'd already been dispatched to the fire, but we were significantly closer. And there were kind of some rules when you're a probationary firefighter in our structure that you couldn't be the 3rd person on the fire truck. You had to be the 4th person. You had to be with the more senior person. And we had some riding assignment rules where if the fire or the address is on your side, you get the nozzle. If it's on the other side, you get the hydrant. Now, I just happened to jump in the nozzle seat just by happenstance, and I remember my lieutenant yelling back to me, "Be ready, we're going to be first on scene." And he was right. We were first on scene, and I grabbed our apartment load, and it was kind of hectic. You're a probationary firefighter. You're trying to do the best job that you possibly can, and we're pulling that line off. And I remember going into the building, and it was in the process of being evacuated at that time, and all the residents are saying, it's upstairs. And so I'm following those cues. Somebody coming out of the building may know more than I do. And I start going up the stairs about the time that my lieutenant walks in the door behind me, because he was bringing hose with him. He says, "Where are you going?" I said, "They're telling me it's upstairs." And he said, "No, it's downstairs." He had a little bit of information that I didn't have. He had talked to the duty officer that had already been around the building once and knew which floor it was on. And so I come back down the stairs, and this hose bundle is just held together with Velcro. And of course I'm fumbling, nervous, and the Velcro gives way and the hose just goes everywhere. And so I had to pick it back up. We stretch this line in down this hallway, call out, have the engineer charge the line, and we open up the apartment door, and smoke's about maybe 3 feet above the floor. And I can just see this glow in the back corner. And I remember talking to my lieutenant just quickly. It's not a big discussion. It's just, very quick statements. And I said, "I see fire." And he says, "No, you don't. Get in there." And so I crawl in maybe to the hallway that goes back to the bedrooms, and the glow's getting brighter as I go. And I call back to him again. I said, I see fire. And he says, no, you don't. Keep going. And I'm like, and I'm crawling down this hallway, and I'm like, is he not seeing what I'm seeing? And of course, you're a probie, so you listen to the officer. And finally, I get to the doorway to the bedroom that's on fire, and I look back and I said, I see fire. He says, yeah, you do. Hit it. And I cracked the nozzle open. I mean, it was such a small fire. I think we used maybe 150 gallons of water to extinguish it and mop it up. So certainly not, a ton of water. It didn't take a lot of work, but I think just being one of the first fires that you're on the hand line, you're inside, you're going to town, you're putting together all of the training that you've spent the last year working on, and it culminates into something like that. And that one will always stick in my mind is probably one of the funnest experiences I had.
That's awesome. All right, just 3 more quick questions. These are the children's questions that I got for today. Is it hot in your gear?
Oh yeah, especially today's not too bad because it's a little cloudy outside, but you get these 90 to 100 degree days, and we're cooking. Imagine wearing a winter snowsuit on the hottest day of the year, and that's what we get to experience. So it is super hot. So the quicker we can get our job done, even the quicker I can get the guys out of that gear to cool down, the safer it is for them. So on those really, really hot days, we may have a ton of firefighters on a fire scene just to keep firefighters cooled down.
Awesome. All right, so you're going to be the tiebreaker. I'm going to ask, one of the kids asked, who's your favorite football team? And so you can say college and pro.
Well, I'm not a big pro guy, but go Hawks.
Go Hawks. All right. And then the last question, and this is the funnest one, I think, of all of them, is can you take me for a ride in your fire truck?
Depends. Kind of depends. There's some age requirements. We certainly don't do it all the time, but we have had kid riders. We've done fun things like, last day of school ride to the fire truck, and it's kind of I think it's a competition with the school, like to get that privilege. But for the general population, it's usually no. Unfortunately, I know it'd be fun. So, I talked at the beginning about how I got a ride in the parades with my uncle, and it was because I had that in with the fire department. So we got to do it, but
awesome.
Kind of depends. But you know what? You can ride with the fire truck if you go to school and you apply.
There you go. Thank you, Captain Manser.
You're welcome.